Hey gamers, welcome back to another Minecraft video. Today we're going to be ranking every single college major, or at least all the ones they have here at Stanford. Today I figured I'd film somewhere other than my dorm room, so I'm here in this empty classroom somewhere on campus. I don't really know where, but I'm here. Hopefully the echo in here isn't too bad, but if it is, I apologize. Here we are once again on tiermaker.com. I made a tier list of all the majors that are available here at Stanford. There are a total of 69 majors available at Stanford, or at least this is what they had on their website. And so today I'll be going through all of these majors and putting them somewhere here on this tier list. Of course, S being the best, F being the worst. And since I don't really know too much about a lot of these majors, I'll kind of just be ranking them based on their general vibes, you know, like my first impressions, what I think of the major, what I think of people in the major, you know, just doing a vibe check on them. We're gonna go through all 69 majors, and I'm pretty sure this will be a fun time, so let's dive right in. Ooh. All right, first up we have African and African American Studies. Not gonna lie, don't know too much about this major, don't know anyone who is this major. Would I be interested in taking a class in this department? Maybe. I'll put it in a C tier. All right, next we have Aeronautics and Astronautics. Airplanes, pretty cool. Spaceships, pretty cool. Physics, not cool at all. So I would put this in like a D tier, but since Amaru is an Aeroastro, I'll put him in a C tier. All right, next we have Asian American Studies. So I did take a class on Filipino American history and issues back in the winter, and I thought that class was pretty cool. So I would say that I'm pretty interested in Asian American Studies. So I would actually put it in an A tier. A for Asian. All right, next we have Architectural Design. I guess it's all right, you know, building houses and stuff. You know, I've played Minecraft before, so I will also put this in a C tier. Okay, next we have Atmosphere/Energy. Not gonna lie, this sounds like a completely made up major. Maybe it has stuff to do with like solar panels or something. I don't really know. I'm not an engineer, but engineering I think is quite gross. So I'll put it in a D tier. All right, next we have Art History. I definitely would want to learn more about art history because, you know, I think some of the art that they have out there is kind of cool. And some of my friends are also pretty into art history. So I'll put art history in a B. Okay, next we have Anthropology. Now, I did take a medical anthropology class back in the winter, and I didn't really like the class too much, and I probably wouldn't have taken it if it didn't count towards my major. Because at least in my experience, anthropology uses a lot of words to say very little things. So I can't really see myself as an anthropology major, so I'll put it in a D. Okay, next we have art practice. I am not super good at art, but I imagine if you are really good at art practice could be a pretty cool major, but that doesn't really apply to me, so I'll put art practice in an E tier. All right, next we have archaeology. So I've never seen Indiana Jones, so I don't really get the appeal of archaeology, paleontology, and all those digging things up kind of things. And in my mind, it's like, haven't they already dug everything up? What else is there to dig up? Nothing, right? Because they've already dug everything up. Doesn't really seem like that useful of a major. I'm gonna put archaeology in an F tier. Next we have American Studies. So Stanford doesn't have its own dedicated Asian American Studies department, which I think is quite unfortunate because I would really like to take more Asian American Studies classes. I do think some American Studies classes are kind of cool, and I think if it came down to it, I would be more inclined to take Asian American Studies over American Studies, so I'll put American Studies in a D tier. All right, next we have Biomedical Computation. This major is essentially just a combination of biology and computer science into one major. And something that I think is pretty weird about Stanford is that there are so many ways to do a bio-CS combination major. You have biomedical computation, you can do biology with a CS track, you can do CS with a biology track, probably like a couple other things. So it doesn't really make sense to me why there are so many ways to do the same exact thing. So I'll put this in a C tier. All right, next we have bioengineering. I do plan on taking some bio-E classes at some point, and I'm not exactly looking forward to that because I don't want to take engineering classes, but it must be done. So for that, I'll put Bio-E in a C tier. All right, next we have Biomechanical Engineering. I do have a friend who is a Biomechanical Engineering major, and they've explained it to me a couple times before, but I still don't really understand the difference between this and Bio-E. It seems like the same exact thing. Two majors for the same thing. Doesn't make any sense. You're going in the D tier. All right, next we have biology. Now, I am a human biology major, not a biology major. So I would have put biology maybe in like a B tier, but now I'm thinking like maybe a C tier. I'll put it in B tier. Okay, next we have chemical engineering, chemistry, engineering, Absolutely horrendous combination. F tier. Okay, next we have chemistry. Currently, I'm taking organic chemistry because I am a pre-med, unfortunately, and I'm not really having a good time. I'm gonna put chemistry in an F tier as well. All right, next we have Chicana, Chicano, Latina, Latino studies. I think that there are a lot of interesting parallels between the experiences of people living in Latin America and people living in the Philippines. So I think I would be interested in taking a class in this major, so let's put this in C tier. Next we have China studies. I would say I'd be interested in learning more about Chinese history and maybe also the Chinese language. So I'll put China studies in a C tier. All right, next we have civil and environmental engineering. Now, I don't really know much about this major and what exactly it entails, but I know people are always making fun of civil engineering for not being real engineering, but in my book, that gives it extra points for not being real engineering. So I'll put it in a D tier. All right, next we have classics. Did I enjoy the Percy Jackson books? Yes. Do I think Latin as a language is cool? No, very useless. So because those things cancel out, I'll put this in a D tier. All right, next we have communication. If you had asked me a couple months ago what I thought about communications, I would say it is a completely useless major. Now that I've thought about it some more, for the work that I'm doing, making like YouTube videos and stuff, being able to communicate and taking some classes in communications might not actually be that bad of an idea. So I'll put you in a C tier. All right, now we have comparative literature. I would say that I do enjoy reading books in my free time, but in my experience, reading books for classes hasn't really been that great. Comparative literature, I'll put you in a D tier. Next, we have computer science. Now, I know in the past I have clowned on computer science as a major because, you know, there's the whole joke about CS majors not showering, and while I still think that's true, I have come to appreciate computer science more in recent times. But would I rank it in the S or A tier? Maybe not yet. Maybe if I take some more CS classes in the future, I'll change my mind and like CS more. But for now, I'll put CS in a B tier. All right, next we have comparative studies in race and ethnicity. I remember hearing a while back from someone that there is some drama going on between calling the major comparative studies in race and ethnicity versus just ethnic studies, and how there's some weird stuff going on, and I don't really remember it too well, and I also don't really understand it too well, but it did not give me the best vibes. I'll put it in a D tier. Okay, next we have East Asian studies. Now, I'm not sure how many of you know this, but I actually applied to Columbia as an East Asian studies major. And in my time here at Stanford, I've taken Japanese and Korean, and I would say I'm quite interested in like the culture and history. So I think East Asian studies would be pretty cool. I'll put it in an A tier. All right, next we have economics. Now, I do think it's important to understand how money works and why things are the way that they are, but economics here at Stanford is really just like an applied math degree, and you know me, not a big fan of math. Econ, F tier. All right, next we have electrical engineering. To be honest, I don't really know what EE is, but I have heard it is quite hard, and I don't really like math and also physics, so I'll put EE in the E tier for the letter E. All right, next we have English. Now, I've taken some literature classes in the past, haven't been a big fan of them because I don't like reading books in class, for a grade, but I did really like my Think class that I took in freshman fall, which was called Stories Everywhere, which was about reading, and surprisingly, I really enjoyed that class. But is that enough to sway my entire opinion on the major? No, I do not want to be an English major. I'll put in a D. I'll put it in a D. All right, next we have engineering physics. Again, physics, very gross. Engineering, very gross. Engineering physics, F tier. All right, next we have energy resources engineering. Now, maybe it's just me, but it kind of feels like this is the same exact thing as atmosphere/energy. Again, this feels like another case of having multiple majors for the same exact thing. Doesn't really make much sense to me, so I'll put it in E tier. All right, next we have environmental systems engineering. Again, this sounds like exactly the same thing as the last major. Why are there so many things for the same thing? You're going in F tier. All right, next we have Earth systems. I do know quite a few people who are Earth systems majors, but I still don't really know what this major is. In my mind, it's just geology, but extra. I guess I'll put it in an E tier. All right, next we have feminine, gender, and sexuality studies. Now, I do plan on taking a human biology course at some point that talks about gender and health, and hopefully that will be an interesting class. So for the time being, I'll put it in like a D tier. All right, next we have film and media studies. Now, I think it'd be pretty cool to take a class on like anime or maybe like YouTube or something. I think that would be pretty cool, but otherwise, I know that there is the stereotype that film studies majors are all like super pretentious, and I don't really know otherwise, so I'll put it in an E tier. Okay, next we have French. On the one hand, I think it would be pretty cool to learn French as a language, and on the other hand, French people. So I'll put French in an E tier. All right, next we have Geological Sciences. So my only experience with geology is from like elementary school when we had to learn the 3 types of rock. So I don't really know if Geological Sciences is something important or that very useful. So I guess I'll put it in E tier for now. Okay, next we have Geophysics. Again, this is another major that is basically the same thing as another major. Geology, not really too sure about it. Physics, I don't like physics. Geophysics, F tier. All right, next we have German studies. I think that there are a couple other languages I would want to learn before German, and other than that, I don't really have much inclination to learn the German language. I guess I'll put it in like a D tier, I guess. All right, next we have history. I think that in another life, perhaps, where money didn't matter and I didn't need to get a job, I could definitely see myself as a history major. I really liked history back in high school. I am still quite a big fan of history, but unfortunately, I don't think I'll be taking any history classes in my time at Stanford. But again, perhaps in another life, I could have been a history major. I'll put history in an A tier. Okay, next we have human biology. For those of you who don't know, I am a hum bio major, and I'll be taking a lot of hum bio classes throughout the rest of my time here. And so far, I've only been taking like the core hum bio classes, which are pretty introductory, and I am not the biggest fan of all of them. So maybe a couple weeks ago, I would not rank hum bio as highly, but since then I have declared my major, and I'm in the process of like picking my classes for the rest of my time here. And there are definitely some classes that I'm pretty excited for. So hum bio, sheesh. I might put it in the S tier. All right, next we have Iberian and Latin American cultures. Again, this is a major I know absolutely nothing about, but I do know that Amaru is taking an ILAC class currently, and he seems to be really liking it. I guess I'll put you in a D tier because I don't really know much about you. All right, next we have international relations. So for those of you who don't know, I originally applied to Stanford as linguistics and international relations for my major. Obviously that didn't pan out, but I do still think international relations is pretty cool. I'll put you in a C tier. Okay, next we have Italian. Italian is one of the languages I think I would be interested in learning at some point, so I guess I'll put you in a C tier. All right, next we have Japanese. So I did take Japanese language in my first year here. I took it for 3 quarters, and I really enjoyed it, and I am also quite a big fan of Japanese history. I'll put Japanese in B tier. Okay, next we have Jewish studies. Again, this is a major I don't really know anything about. Don't know anyone who is a Jewish studies major. I don't even really know what classes that would entail, but I guess I'll put it in a D tier. All right, next we have Korean. As you may know, I have quite a history with Korea because I did study abroad there for a while in high school, and I have taken Korean here at Stanford. I would say that I wasn't as big a fan of Korean here at Stanford as I was of Japanese, but I think I would also put Korean in a B tier. All right, next we have linguistics. Like I mentioned earlier, I originally applied to Stanford as linguistics and IR because I originally thought that the linguistics had to do with the process of learning languages. But then I got here and I was looking at the courses in the department, and they were all things like semantics, pragmatics, phonetics, all things that just make me snore. I am going to be taking a psycholinguistics class at some point, which is actually about the process of learning languages, which I am quite excited for. So because of that, I guess I'll put linguistics in the C tier. All right, next we have math. I've said this many times, but I am not a big fan of math. Math 51, probably my least favorite class that I've taken at Stanford so far. But despite all that, I don't know if I would put math in an F tier. For some reason, I feel like it doesn't belong. Maybe I'll put it in an E tier. Okay, next we have material science and engineering. Again, this is a major I don't really know too much about. In my head, it's basically like chemistry with a few extra steps, but my roommate Bryce is a Mat Sci major. Sometimes he does look like he is absolutely hating the major, but other times, I guess he kind of likes it. Because of Bryce, I'll put it in a C tier. Alright, next we have mathematical and computational science. Maybe it's just me, but it sounds like math and more math. You know, maybe this is the reason I didn't put math itself in an E tier, because I knew that I was going to put MCS in an F tier. Alright, next we have mechanical engineering. I do have quite a few friends who are mechie majors, and they seem to be doing some pretty cool stuff. They get like 3D printers that they can just keep, which I think is pretty cool. Maybe I should take that mechie class. But I do know that they have to do quite a bit of physics. Not a big fan of physics. I'll put mechie in an E tier. Alright, next we have management science and engineering. For those of you who don't go to Stanford, you might hear the name and you'll be like, wow, cool, engineering. That sounds interesting maybe. No. MS&E, according to my understanding, is essentially just Stanford's version of a business major because, you know, Stanford engineering, so they just like take business and they just put engineering in it. But I'm sure you guys already know everything you need to know about business majors. Stay away. MS&E, F tier. If it could go lower, it would have gone lower. Alright, next we have music. So just like art practice, I think that if I was good at music, I would think that this was a cooler major. I guess I'll also put music in an E tier since that's where I put art practice. Alright, next we have Native American Studies. I don't really know too much about this major because I don't know anyone who is a Native American Studies major, and I don't know exactly how developed their department is going to be here at Stanford. Since I can't really come to a definitive conclusion, I'll put it in a D tier. Alright, next we have product design. Again, I have absolutely no idea what product design is. I'll put you in an E tier. Alright, next we have philosophy. I do think it could be interesting to take some philosophy classes, but as my major, I can't think of what I would do with a philosophy degree. It seems kind of useless. F tier. Okay, next we have physics. Like I've said many times before, physics makes me sad. Physics, F tier. F for physics. Okay, next we have political science. Maybe some poli-sci classes could be fun. I don't really know. I'll put it in a D tier. Next we have public policy. I don't understand how this is going to be different from poli-sci. E tier. Alright, next we have philosophy and religious studies. Philosophy and religious studies, I imagine, could be useful if you want to go into the priesthood or something, maybe? Yeah, I'll put it in an E tier. Alright, next we have religious studies. So I am Catholic, and I do think it would be pretty interesting to take some religion classes here, but I don't know if I would do it for my major, so I'll put it also at an E tier. Alright, next we have Slavic languages and literature. I don't know if I would take any classes in this department over some other languages I would be more interested in, so I guess I'll put it in an E tier. Okay, next we have sociology. I don't know, I think it could be interesting maybe to take some sociology classes, so I'll put it in a E tier. Alright, next we have Spanish. So I did take Spanish for about 7 years through middle and high school, so I don't know if I'd be interested in taking more psych classes in college, so I'll put this at an E tier. Next we have science, technology, and society. To me, this seems like kind of like a nothing major where you can just do whatever you want. So I'll put this at an F tier. Alright, next we have symbolic systems. I did take a SimSys class in the fall of my freshman year and I really enjoyed it, and maybe I would be a SimSys major in another life. I'll put this at an S tier. Alright, theater and performance studies. I don't do theater nor performance. I'll put this at an E tier. Last but not least, we have urban studies. I don't really know what urban studies is. Studying the urban. I guess I'll put this at an E tier. Alright, so these are my rankings for every major available here at Stanford. Hopefully I didn't rank your major too low. And with that, thanks for watching. Bye.